Henry! Hello everybody and welcome to Pokemon Weekly. I'm Henry Gilbert.
And I'm Hollander Cooper.
And today in our search for Pokemon secrets, we're looking at some of the lesser known legends and myths that have inspired them. Like, we know all the animals that are obviously inspired by Pokemon. Yeah. A lot are just like fire plus lizard equals Charmander.
Or pinecone plus googly eyes equals Pineco.
Exactly, but some dig a little deeper than that into myth, a lot of Japanese myth and some others that you probably haven't heard of.
Yeah, and we actually have an article on the site written by Lucas Sullivan about this, and we decided to take that article, rip it off wholesale, and mispronounce all of the Japanese names on YouTube just for you.
Gonna do our best.
Yep. I'm gonna start off. So, Pokemon Dunsparce, based on Sushinko. Sushinko?
Sushinoko.
Sushinoko. According to sightings of Sushinoko, it's essentially a fat snake that's been rolled by a rolling pin, and it sort of inches forward. You can already see what it looks like, the comparisons. The other legends say that it can leap far distances, which explains why he has little wings. Also, apparently has little fangs. Dunsparce has little fangs. It all makes sense. It's an easy comparison.
It adds up. Well, speaking of another Japanese fable, there is Sneasel, is based on the Kamaitachi.
Yes.
Which they're known to hunt in packs of 3, and they have a very creepy thing that they do, which is they're apparently so lightning quick, which is Sneasel is known for.
Isn't Sneasel one of the fastest or the fastest in the game?
I believe so, yeah. But they are known to like knock down people, move so fast that you don't even notice them go by your leg and just rip skin off of your leg.
Yep.
And then you think like, oh, I skinned my knee. I'm so silly. You don't even know they are eating your flesh.
Which is just essentially a creepy Japanese legend to explain what happens when you trip and skid your knee. Which is really just a mess. Another one, Mall Isle, based on Futakachi Onna.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Basically, it's a cautionary tale telling you that you're supposed to have a good diet. Because if you don't have a good diet, if you don't eat enough, you might get a second mouth sprouting from your skull that requires twice the normal amount of food that you require. And it will eventually feed itself if you can't feed it, if you continue your terrible ways, causing your hair to kind of get a mind of its own to become a mouth for it. It's really easy to see how that transferred over. It's not really easy to see why they thought that they should make a Pokemon based on that disturbing legend.
Unlike some of the previous ones, Sableye isn't even based on Japanese myth. It's actually an American one, the Hopkinsville Goblin.
Yeah, and this is one of those classic American tales of someone over in like the friggin' middle of the country kind of a thing, and a bunch of people saying, we saw an alien. In this case, it was a purple-looking imp with jewels for eyes, and that's the Hopkinsville Goblin. It had a bunch of sightings. It apparently had pointy ears, bright glowing eyes, and no nose whatsoever. And guess what? That's exactly what Sableye looks like.
Oh, now this one I know. That Shrifty is based on, back to Japanese myth, the Tengu, which is...
The second we get to the American myths, you're like, I'm off, I'm out!
I don't know, I never heard of this thing. But Tengu are famous, they're the crow demon type dudes who, they walk around on these big shoes, like these traditional Japanese shoes that the feet of Shrifty imitate as well. And on top of that, he has strong wind power that they usually throw from like this kind of a fan made out of their feathers. It's really creepy. I remember I was introduced to this topic by Tengu Man, an enemy in Mega Man.
Yeah, and even though usually the mythological ones have red skin, in the game they don't, but the shiny versions do have the red skin of legend, lore.
The red face, yeah.
The red face.
It's clear that the reference they're trying to make. That's for
sure. Moving on to Wishcash is actually based on the Namazu. And Wishcash is, Namazu is just a big catfish. So it's easy to just draw the parallel, but it does go a little further than them both being big catfishes. In 1855, there was a huge earthquake, and people started worshiping a giant catfish, because that's what you do in any time before 1900 when something goes wrong, and just the first thing you see, you imagine it's responsible, but
it's how they dealt with their grief.
Yeah, it's why people worship the sun until today. But the thing is, the Pokemon also knows the ability Fissure and Earthquake, which doesn't really make sense for a catfish.
Why a catfish would know
unless
that, yeah.
in the 1850s, a bunch of people assumed that a catfish caused an earthquake.
Well, and then lastly is one inspired by the golem of Jewish religion. I was going to say myth, but maybe that's not the right way to put it. But specifically the Golem of Prague, right?
Yep. So it's basically, there was a Jewish legend, rabbi built a golem, and it was given life through Hebrew inscriptions, which that alone that's part of the story. But there's a comedy, a two-part comedy, The Emperor and the Golem, and in that film, the golem is a large clay figure, but he's held together by straps, including a large gash over his chest, which looks exactly like Golurk.
Yeah, that is so specific to Golurk. I've seen in a lot of games golems appear, like in RPGs and stuff, but not so specifically with the slash.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it for this episode.
Yeah, that is it for this one, but we are going to delve deep into it again. Maybe later when it's posted, you'll see a link to that later video around here, perhaps. But until then, be sure to comment on this episode. Let us know what you think of these origins of Pokemon. If you have any other weird origins that we haven't talked about yet, be sure to read Lucas Sullivan's original article about this as well. And stay tuned, because we're going to talk about our favorite comments from last week's episode right after this. Until next time, Pokemon Weekly out! And now here's our favorite comments from last week's episode about the origin of language in Pokemon. Noah Hughes wrote, "This theory is cool, but I believe Pokemon actually growl, like in the games, except Pikachu. Screw Pikachu." Bulky Blaziken57 wrote, "You know, Pokemon might have got their names from us. Maybe they just huffed until they heard our language and then started saying their names." And Branson Mayorla had a very good point. What about Mew, who has never been seen by humans? That's true. How do we even learn the word Mew if we never even saw him? And those are our favorite comments. Be sure to comment on this week's episode, and we'll read our favorites of that one next week. Hey everybody, this is Pikachu. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Super Smash Bros. Wii U Weekly right there.
Kill me. If you want to see Titanfall Weekly, click here.
I'm sick. Pika, pika.
And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to us down there.
Pikachu.
That works.
All right.